Welcome to the Changeover Podcast, hosted by Wider Group, an industrial marketing and sales growth agency. It's our mission to give sales and marketing teams at industrial organizations the fuel to grow and prosper within today's unique and changing landscape. I'm Frank Iska. Today, we're diving into a website transformation story with ESOP partners Eric Strebe. We'll explore how they retooled their user experience to drive qualified leads and support stronger growth. Let's get started. Eric, thanks for joining us today.
You bet. Thanks, Frank.
I'm excited to tell the story about the ESOP Partners website, your journey with us as a client, and kind of thinking back to prior to your current website strategy that we did, a relaunch of the ESOP Partners website, what things used to be and what we've learned throughout the process, what you guys have learned about your business and how your buyer reacts to different information on the site and how we've fine-tuned that. But why don't we start with just giving an introduction on you and your role in ESOP Partners and speaking to what an ESOP is. I think for this audience, for industrials, this is a really viable option for an exit strategy for business owners. So I want to give you a chance to speak to the benefits of an ESOP.
Yeah. Thanks, Frank.
Yeah.
So my name is Eric Strebe, and I'm the director of ESOP Consulting at ESOP Partners here in Appleton, Wisconsin. So ESOP Partners has been around since 2006. We're 18 years old and going strong. And we're an ESOP third-party administrator and consultant. So what that means is we help business owners understand the nuances behind employee ownership. We help them implement an ESOP and actually sell their business to their employees. And then after they sell their business to their employees, we do the record keeping for the plan and help ensure its sustainability. We do that through a number of different initiatives, but we consult on employee culture and communications. We help with messaging and the monetary aspects of managing an ESOP as well. So what is an ESOP, right? An ESOP stands for Employee Stock Ownership Plan. It's not an option plan. That's something that's very popular, and we see that out in the marketplace. But this is an Employee Stock Ownership Plan. And an Employee Stock Ownership Plan is really three things. First, it's a business transition tool. So it helps business owners transfer ownership of their company when it comes time for their journey to change. It's a way to sell your company, part or all of your company, on a tax advantage basis. It's actually the most efficient way to sell a company. Yeah. It also allows you to keep control. So if you were a business owner and you were going to enter into a more traditional type of sale of your business, you'd be able to control very little, right? You negotiate the transaction price, but in an ESOP transaction, you're actually able to control everything moving forward. An ESOP transaction actually separates the change of control from the financial transaction. So day-to-day operations don't change. Number two, it's an employee ownership vehicle. So it allows employees to have a stake in the company that they helped build. Yeah. And it's actually a very powerful tool, right? So when you align the financial objectives of the employee with that of the company, good things happen.
Exactly.
Right? So it's a way to give your employees stake in the game. And then last but not least, it's also a qualified retirement plan. So what we do is we really help build wealth for those employee owners out there.
Yeah.
And come retirement, they get to enjoy the upside of business ownership without having to deal with all of the downside throughout the years.
It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
And we've experienced firsthand, Wider Group transitioned to an ESOP quite a few years ago. We've seen what it's done for retention and recruitment and just another way for us to stand out as a marketing agency, another benefit for our team members. It's been a wonderful vehicle there for taking care of our people.
Yeah. I'll tell you, one of the coolest things I get to do is after we install an ESOP and the transaction happens, we come in and educate the employees. And just seeing the looks on their face when they realize what this means for them and what that business owner did for them makes everything we do worth it.
Awesome. Well, it's a great story to tell. And it creates some complications when it comes to the buyer journey. This is a big decision, thinking about selling your business and a lengthy buyer journey. So if we think back to the old website and what your website was doing to educate your prospective buyers, and that's the thing with ESOP partners, you guys have a complex buyer journey, multiple personas, different entry points of how people are finding you, finding the websites. If you could speak to the past, kind of what you were dealing with the old website.
Yeah. Not only is it a unique buyer journey, it's a specialized knowledge, right?
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere and just find information about ESOPs or accurate information. And then when you did find accurate information, it was difficult to find the context around it. So you thought you were finding the answer to one of your questions, and you may be absent quite a bit of context.
Yeah.
And I think we saw a similar type journey, or I guess customer experience, when we looked at our old website. See, when we looked at our website, things felt good. We had a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of people stopping in and learning.
Absolutely. We're experts in what we do. We're known in our industry, and we built our website to showcase that.
Yeah.
Right? We took our expertise, we put it out there, and people were looking at it. What we found is we couldn't correlate many closed sales to a journey within our website.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why we came to you and said, Frank and team, what can we do to optimize this? Because we got a lot of good stuff out there.
Yeah.
But we're not seeing the returns that we think we might be able to.
Exactly. And really, kudos to your founder for seeing the value and being a thought leader. That's really what the site was built upon, was a blog that had 10 plus years of content, dedication to educating prospective buyers at different stages of the ESOP journey about what it means to be employee owned and the aspects, ins and outs of an ESOP and different things rolling out from the government for this benefits. There's a lot of technical details there, but to your point, it was missing that connection, getting people to a stage where they're feeling comfortable to reach out to your team. It was a great education platform and vehicle, but it didn't get them to that next step.
Exactly.
So we saw an opportunity. We had done multiple facelifts with your website to evolve the design over the years, helped with some branding things, but we needed to step back and focus on the strategy. And that's where we saw the biggest opportunity, was really thinking through what are the different entry points for your different prospective buyers, whether they're an existing ESOP company, learning how you can benefit them from an administration standpoint, or someone that's, hey, I don't know exactly what an ESOP is, but I'm intrigued. So that's the opportunity that we saw with the new website, was how do we better define those different user paths, whether someone's an existing ESOP and they're looking for different administration services that ESOP partners could provide, or someone who's looking for a way to get out of their business and sell it, that exit strategy aspect. So definitely retooled an approach to how we could structure your site to guide people through, depending on where they are in the buyer journey. We got to create that credibility and trust. So we knew you had really great content, but how do we get them over the hump of, okay, I'm ready to talk to your sales team and help me validate if this is a viable solution. So that's an area that we saw. So I know it started originally, we were going to just do another redesign of this site before we did kind of a strategic overhaul. How did you sell that internally with your leadership? That, hey, this is going to be a bigger project, but I trust Wider. I see what needs to be done here.
Well, I think, first and foremost, the word that you said that resonates with me is trust, right?
Yeah.
And we've had a long-standing relationship. So I'd love to take credit on selling this, but realistically, I really didn't need to. I mean, what I really appreciate about working with you and your team is the business case that you put forth when you come with a recommendation, right? There's thought put behind it. And, earlier I stated that we had a lot of visitors, but we were looking for a way to convert more. That wasn't an idea that came to us without your help, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I really appreciate the fact that that you identified that potential opportunity, right? That was a gap. I mean, we were looking at the number of visitors we had and calling it a success, but it wasn't necessarily translating into revenue. And your team brought up the idea that there was an opportunity there. Yeah. So, the fact that an opportunity was identified, we can bring that to leadership with such a great business case behind it. It was a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. I mean, the thought was, hey, White Earth said they could help us here. We can get more quality leads and ultimately help more people. Let's make this a priority.
Yeah,
and that's what we did.
And we allowed data to tell the story. We saw a lot of first-time visitors come on the site, not as many repeat visitors, and that was largely from the blog. Yeah. That was the powerhouse as far as bringing in traffic. But we didn't have a great way to get them funneled from that blog page and specific articles to your core capabilities. And some of that was we were missing some things. So we saw opportunities to better tell the story of what you bring to the table, both for an existing ESOP company or someone who's considering this as an option to exit their business. So that was a key area. But also just recognizing, I mentioned this before, giving people a place to start, a good welcome mat. So Kelly Wilhelm, our director of marketing, touched on this in a previous episode. You got to have that welcome mat. So depending on where they are in the journey, what are we greeting them with to guide them through their journey and make it very easy? So a key thing we did is we changed up your architecture, and it felt a little bit weird to lead with this section all about ESOPs versus getting into your capabilities, which we led with before. But that's how we would establish that credibility. It felt like, all right, ESOP Partners is here to educate me and help me, depending on where I am. So I might be even an advisor, someone who works with companies to help plan what their next step is in their journey as a business owner, resources for them, or for an HR professional who's helping the owner of the company better educate on other ways to retain talent. So we went into it with that standpoint, and something we were missing on the old site as well was not a very clear SEO strategy. We had a lot of keywords we were targeting through content, but we were missing that intent of where people were and depending on their journey, what they're looking for. So did some really good mapping of intention around certain phrases to guide them to a relevant page or set of pages in their journey. So we've seen some incredible things, and we're going to get into results. But let's just talk about the process. As we got into this site project, I know we tried to do as much of the heavy lifting as possible, but we tapped into you as far as someone who's speaking with prospects every day of what they're looking for. So what were some key things that you wanted to make sure that we addressed on the site from your standpoint to make sure we can help the sales process as you start engaging with new contacts?
When we get in front of a prospect or someone who is entertaining the idea of employee ownership, their journeys start different paths.
Yeah.
Or different spots, right? And their paths oftentimes do not look exactly the same. It's unique in what we do. I tell people ESOPs are like snowflakes. Every single one is different, right? And the reason for that is everyone's path is different. Everyone's goals and objectives are different. And I think our old site led people down one path, and it was essentially, here's our expertise, right? I think when we looked at what's important when we're talking to prospects, it's to acknowledge everyone's starting in a different place. It goes back to that context I talked about before, right? Is you may have someone searching for the answer to a question, and you could give them that answer, but without the context around that answer, it doesn't mean much.
Yeah.
And that was what we came to you. That was our biggest concern.
Yeah.
Was we want to provide the context and we want to shape the journey, and we want it to be able to start that journey from whatever starting point this interested party was at.
Exactly. And those insights about your key personas and the pain points that they're dealing with, the key information that they need in the sales process, that was fundamental to how we approach not only the structure of the site, but how we enhance the content on certain pages. The prior site, we covered off on the basics. We checked the boxes of this is the key information about your capabilities, your services, but it didn't go further enough to tell the story and connect with, hey, we know you might be experiencing these things. Here's how we can help. Here's how an ESOP can be a vehicle to equip you with what you're trying to solve for. So that's, I think, a lot of where the magic happened. And I'll let you speak to some user feedback, because you're talking to new prospects all the day, and without even asking, they're saying, hey, I love your website. I'd love to hear what they tell you about the site that they love.
Absolutely. You know, I think when I look at this project, I think the thought process was we're not going to be able to gauge its success for at least a few months.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to gauge it based on results.
We had hoped that we could see a pretty quick, indication of results, but yeah, it's sometimes you got to be patient.
Yeah. Right. And the sample size has to be large enough, right?
Exactly.
So
give it time.
Yeah. Let's see what data comes in. But in reality, what happened was, I guess I would have to describe it as a barrage, but it was a lot of immediate feedback. So right around the time we kicked the website off, and put it out there for the public to see, we were at an industry conference.
Yeah. I remember this.
Yeah. And I think I called you afterwards and said, hey, Frank, you're never going to believe this. I mean, we had numerous people come up to us and compliment us on our website.
Yeah. That's powerful.
Absolutely. And it continued when we got back from the conference. We would be speaking with prospects on the phone, and they would talk about our website. And I'm not talking every once in a while. I mean, this is continuing to happen.
Yeah.
What people are appreciating is, I think you said it before, it's the journey we're bringing them on, right? It's, had one gentleman tell me, it's like you knew what the next question that I was going to ask was. Yeah. Right?
Very cool.
Yeah. And I guess I'd like to ask you, right? We've talked about this a lot, but I've never really asked you, how did you build that? Right. So you talk to us about the types of questions and the journey that people go through. But I feel like you've hit it from many different angles. Like, what kind of process do you even go through to make that happen?
We really focused on, I think, websites of the past, you get so focused on how do we have this thing stand out in search? And you get really obsessed around keywords and how can we make sure we turn up for certain results? And you forget about the user. You get a little too caught up on some of the metrics and the numbers of, hey, if we can rank for this, we're going to get a lot of traffic. That was part of our thinking, our strategy, but we really obsessed on, okay, thinking about ESOP partners and your audience, who are these key personas? And we did quite a bit of interrogation of your team of wanting to know what are those questions you hear in the sales process. And I think it helped too. We have firsthand experience going through an ESOP journey ourselves because we weren't always an employee-owned company. There was questions we had. So we put ourselves in that seat, and that was fundamental to the way we structured content, the way we wanted to guide people through the site. And it's just really fulfilling to hear from your direct audience that they recognize that and feel that it helps them on that journey. That's the biggest compliment and win for our team is we don't care about design awards and getting the most traffic. We care about business results and hearing that it helped them on their journey. That's just a big win for ESOP partners and for wider group.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I think not only has it brought more interest in the form of leads, but it's brought better leads. It's in a sense given us credibility before we've even met our prospect.
Yeah,
and gives us a big leg up when it comes time to educate them.
And we've seen some incredible results. We have a case study linked in the show notes for this episode, highlighting these results. But it was great to see about a 300% increase year over year in MQLs. But what we get even more excited about is the 900% increase in SQLs, so sales qualified leads. And part of that was we changed something to give people a better conversion path. You offer a no-cost feasibility assessment or feasibility analysis. And I think that caused some confusion because that's also a paid engagement that you offer. So it took some convincing with your leadership to offer a free ESOP readiness assessment. So if you can kind of talk about that, and I know you embraced this change and we've seen the results, but thinking through how it was positioned before and kind of getting on board with this free ESOP readiness assessment and what that's done.
I appreciate that question. So one of the first steps of the journey into employee ownership is to have a feasibility study done, right?
And that's essentially to see if an ESOP is viable.
Exactly.
For your company.
Exactly, right? The thing is the term feasibility study is not only inherent in our industry, but in many others, right? You could have a feasibility study done for almost any large project nowadays. And then to further, I think, complicate things within our own industry, our feasibility study is going to look completely different than our competitors' feasibility study.
Yeah.
Right. We have a different process. We believe our proven process maximizes the output and the value of the study. But it's different. Not only do we have a feasibility study that our clients can pay for, but we had a no-cost feasibility analysis.
Yeah.
And if you just think back to the last 30 seconds, how many times did I say feasibility, right? And all in different contexts. They all had different meanings.
Yeah.
And we were seeing that. As people were going through the buying journey, they were getting confused as to what step they were in, right? Okay, what's next? And what do I pay for? And it was not clear.
Yeah.
I think the words readiness assessment obviously have a psychological impact that you're more the expert about. We didn't talk about cost, but I think most importantly, what happened was we were able to segregate the idea of what we were doing. We were able to show them by introducing a readiness assessment that, hey, we're going to sit alongside you. We're going to understand your situation, and we're going to help you understand if you're ready to move forward, right? If you're ready to even assess this.
Yep.
The funny part is we took the word no cost out of it, and at no time has cost come up or been a barrier, right?
Yeah.
This is something we do as a courtesy. It's education that we provide, and it's something that our clients see a lot of value in.
Yeah.
But it was something they were scared of when no cost feasibility analysis was the way we described it.
We took from some experience that we had with our own business, offering a free inbound readiness assessment, and we saw some success there. We've also used that certain terminology and kind of that psychological connection with other clients. We felt like, well, we got to give this a shot. We always felt like we could change it back if needed. And I think that's how we sold you guys on it is let's test this. And that's what marketing is all about, especially with your website. You got to test it versus hypothesizing. Is it going to work? Is it going to detract people? And it's been a great experiment. And I'm glad we made the change.
Absolutely.
So I think that's great advice for our listeners is if you have kind of a feeling of something that could potentially work, give it a shot. It's not going to break things or be earth-shattering, but you don't know until you try it. So kind of going back to that increase in SQLs, that 900% SQLs, how many of those have resulted in additional consultations, valid opportunities for your sales team?
So here's what I can tell you. Our goal was a 20% increase in consultations.
Yep.
That's what we would consider success.
That was a key metric.
Yep.
With the new site.
Absolutely. I'm not going to lie to you. My expectations went up a little bit when I went to the conference and people were talking about our website.
Yeah.
Right. But our actual results were a 55% increase in consultations.
Yeah. And that exceeded what we thought.
So those results were proof of a very good investment, right?
Yeah.
And that the project was 100% successful. And the cool part is we've sustained those results. It wasn't a one-time thing. I mean, this website is built to last.
Yeah.
And it's functioning very, very well. So we continue to be very happy.
And that's a good thing to touch on. We're seeing lots of volatility in the search landscape because of the introduction of AI. Google's doing a lot more to keep people on the search page to get answers versus sending them off to a website. But we continue to see with ESOP partners thinking through that key middle of the funnel content, that bottom of the funnel content, and solution-related pages, these buyer guides. That's the stuff that AI can't replicate. So we're still seeing a very steady amount of traffic. We have seen a reduction in some of the blog content as Google and AI tries to answer those questions. Not as good as the ESOP Partners blog can, but we've seen a pretty steady course with your key website pages based on how we structured this. And again, it goes back to being super obsessed around your end users and what they need. AI can't provide that. ESOP Partners can provide that because you know your buyers, and that was instrumental in how we structured this content. So that's been fantastic to see as we've created something that's AI proof because AI is not going away, but we have something in place that's going to speak to the humans that are looking for this key information about their business and different solutions. So
absolutely, you were able to harness our expertise and tailor it to each type of individual that visits our website.
Yeah. So let's also talk about what's next for ESOP Partners. What do you guys have on the horizon as you continue to navigate this landscape? As business owners look at different ways to exit their business. So when you think about what's on the horizon for ESOP Partners.
So at ESOP Partners, we're an ESOP ourselves.
Yeah.
As you know, we haven't been an ESOP as long as the Whiter Group, but we became an ESOP in 2019, and we look to continue down that path. So our goal is to be the most well-known ESOP in the United States. We'd like to spread education around employee ownership. See, our biggest obstacle as an industry is ignorance.
Yeah.
It's the fact that when business owners think business succession, an ESOP oftentimes isn't brought up, or maybe it's only considered for a short amount of time due to misinformation or misunderstanding.
Yeah, it's still vastly unknown. It's kind of like a best kept secret as far as exit strategies.
Absolutely. So look for us to continue to build our website, to continue to help customers through their journey, and to continue to revolutionize what we do. We started as a third-party administrator. Most third-party administrators are record keepers.
Yeah.
They give you your reports each year, and they say, we'll talk to you next year. We believe that ESOPs are business tools, and we are constantly looking to reinvent ways to use these as business tools to help both businesses and their employees create wealth.
Well, Eric, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. This is a fantastic episode and story to tell. I think a lot of lessons that our listeners can take away, and hopefully they get introduced to the concept of an ESOP, depending on their role in the company, and consider that maybe in the future or now if they're looking as a way to exit their business. So
thanks for having me, Frank, and thanks for everything that you and your team have done for us as a company and individuals, especially what you've done with our website. So www.esoppartners.com. That's where you'll find our one-stop ESOP blog and all the content we've been talking about.
And thanks to ESOP Partners is our ESOP administration partner and ongoing consultant with our own ESOP. So it's been a great partnership both ways to help each other grow as a business.
Absolutely.
And that's all for this episode of The Changeover, the podcast for industrial marketing and sales teams. In the meantime, follow us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit whiter.com/changeover-podcast to get links to additional resources mentioned in today's episode. And let us know what you want to hear about next time by messaging Wider Group on social media. I'm Frank Iska. Thanks for listening. Well, I think we had a good start. It felt good.
We're killing it, man.
It feels warm in here. Yeah, you came out guns blazing.
Oh, I'm trying, man.
You had that was fantastic.